Hi, my name's Ashley, and today's episode is from euphoria to awe, why addiction feels flat. And it's the missing link in sobriety that I think you might need to hear if you don't know. Just to let you know, if you're new to the channel, my name is Ashley Bloxham. I'm a therapist. I specialise in trauma and childhood, but I also specialise in addiction. I'm an addiction therapist. I have studied addiction right the way up to PhD level, and I've also overcame addiction. I think that's the most important thing to be allowing us to speak here. And I also know what it's like to have a loved one who's going through it. I know how painful that is. So pretty qualified to be talking. So let's talk about today's topics. So from euphoria to awe, the reason why I've spoke about this is because when we're in addiction recovery, them early stages, or maybe when we've gotten over the tough part and the feeling like, okay, life should be getting better now. And a lot of the things that I hear from people is that it's boring, life feels flat. It just doesn't seem to have the same oomph that I had when I was in addiction. And part of that is because when we're in addiction, we're flooding our brains with loads of chemicals, dopamine, oxytocin, loads of other things. And this is really intense. And then what we do is remove that, and then we're left with this like really flat feeling. And what we can be really helpful in this time is to start to think about, okay, we don't want to get that euphoria again because that's problematic. We've learned that is not sustainable. But we don't do anything to increase those feelings. So awe is a really good feeling to elicit, and it has exactly the same neurochemical release that we have when we have addiction, but just in a more sustainable way. So what is awe? Awe is looking around and thinking, wow, life is great. Oh my God, people are pretty amazing, absolutely crazy, but amazing, as is the world. And it's this feeling connected to the world, others. And what happens is when we experience awe, we release dopamine, but it's in a more sustainable way. It's not as extreme. And we also release oxytocin, which is the love hormone. The thing is, when we're releasing oxytocin in addiction, what happens is we start to feel attached and love the addiction. And that's not really helpful. Whereas awe allows us to produce oxytocin, but we attach and love other people and the world and all this other stuff, like nice experiences. So how do we cultivate awe in our life more often? Because the more regularly we can cultivate awe, the better we're going to be feeling, and it's going to replace that need for euphoria, which is already all of a sudden gone. So we can do that in two ways, and they're scientific, they're not woo-woo, but they sound like spiritual fluff. But the first way is mindfulness. So just stopping and being present and just like taking a look around you, like looking at the wonders of the world, or noticing the people in your life, noticing the person who opens the door for you when you're struggling, all these different things. So it's about being present, and this is something we can practice. So practice mindfulness. The second is gratitude. And again, sounds like absolute fluff, but it's not. It's really good. So stopping and thinking, what have I done today that's been amazing? Like, what interactions have I had with people which have been fun and nice and nourishing on a physiological way and a soul level? So gratitude is really helpful. And if you can just start practicing mindfulness and practicing gratitude, you'll start to realize that actually life doesn't feel flat and actually starts to feel really fulfilling. And I think that can be the missing link, because we go from high dopamine, high oxytocin to virtually no dopamine, no oxytocin. So all can be just something really simple, really easy and super free that we can just introduce into our lives, and it will make a difference. Let's see what people are saying though. Hi Psychedelic and Lee, how are you doing? Warmest hugs. Thank you. Right back at you. Hope my morning's good. Yeah, it's been a nice morning. Hi Killer. By the way, I'm a therapist, so if anyone has any questions around mental health or addiction, do comment and I'll do my best to answer. Turkey, so Hakan is saying Turkish, hello, please block stocking nylon. Oh, okay, my friend, I don't know what that means. I don't know what stocking nylon is. Nylon stockings? I don't know. Let us know. Right, I slipped only a bit regarding cocaine. I'm back off it clean. I actually hate the shit 2 lines in, and I feel like an introvert. I'm going alcohol clean. I don't drink daily, as it were. Lee, I'm going to message you back because you've messaged us, so we'll can arrange a one-to-one if you want. But yeah, this is what I found out with. So my main addiction was ketamine. So different to coke, but even when I had a problem with coke, it's that alcohol lowers inhibitions. So if we have alcohol, we're more likely to make the mistake of relapse, because sensible brain goes out the window, the brain who hates coke goes out the window, or whatever addiction it is, and then all of a sudden we're doing that thing and we think, oh, why have I done that? So it is a sad truth that often, if we're going to overcome addiction, whether that's gambling or coke, drugs, whatever, that we might have to get rid of alcohol, even though that's not the thing that we're addicted to. Or maybe control alcohol. It depends on what our capabilities are, but that sounds really sensible. And I'm the same. I was actually talking about when I struggled with coke, and I hate it. Like, I just didn't like it. I enjoyed that first line because we get that dopamine hit and we get that buzz, but realistically we don't enjoy it near the end where we're like turned into fiends with whatever the addiction is. And we certainly don't like it the next day when we think we've like, oh, all that work we've done's gone under the belt, or fuck, I don't want to be doing this, but I know I'm probably going to be doing it again. So it's a really common thing, but like, hats off to you for picking yourself up and then also having that real chat with yourself about, okay, alcohol's a bit of a trigger, it's a gateway. In addiction, so when I studied it, they talk about weed being a gateway drug, and I would argue, no, alcohol's the gateway drug. Anybody who's tried a drug probably tried it on alcohol. I'd say a high percentage of people. It just lowers inhibitions. But I feel great clean. So your subject today is bang on. I'm grateful as fuck. Yeah, just being grateful. Even just being grateful for the work that you've done to get sober. Like, I think we go through life, a lot of us, me certainly in the past, of just going through the motions, but just sitting there and being grateful and being present, aka leaning into awe, we just start to realise, I actually know I'm doing great. And you can start to clock your improvements, you can start to clock just how good life is and be grateful. It's key. And especially when you weren't grateful. So on the flip side, we can look at how ungrateful we were in our addiction, because I don't think many people have gratitude for being knee deep in addiction. Like, it's not something to be grateful for. It's something that you're like, why the fuck? So yeah, if you can also reflect on the stuff that wasn't great and how lucky you are now. Right, cool. What are you saying? I'm just sobering up and it's awful. Yeah, I can imagine. It really is. Plus my boyfriend seems to hate me. I'm really sorry about that, Cool Hand. Yeah, it is awful in the early stages. And one of the things which is really common when we come out of addiction is, it's certainly for me, and look, anybody else who's listening, let us know if it's your experience, but you come out of addiction and all of a sudden it's like you've lifted this, it's a bit like rose tinted glasses that you're having, but it's not rose tinted because I don't think life looks rosy, but it's almost like life's a bit blurry. You're not really focusing on life. And then you remove the addiction and you're like, oh, hang on a minute. There's a lot of stuff that I wasn't noticing or taking time to think about. And all of a sudden it becomes glaringly obvious, like your relationships, and maybe you're in a job that you hate. Maybe there's like lots of different factors. I'm overworking myself. Actually, it's quite uncomfortable to be in my brain. Like, I don't enjoy myself, my own thoughts. So that can be really common. Cool Hand, if you want to have a free one-to-one, and anybody who's listening, maybe you're not feeling confident enough to comment or whatever, go on my website, which is schoolofaddiction.co.uk, and you can send us a message on there that's confidential and we can have a free one-to-one and hash it out. But the other thing I will say, Cool Hand, is when we come early days of sobriety, on the one hand, we start realising things. So, like I say, those blurry glasses that were on come off and you hit with reality. The other thing is you're saying that you feel like your boyfriend hates you. And it might be a case that your dopamine is really low and all of a sudden you feel really shit and vulnerable, and it might be that you're projecting this, what's going on in your brain, onto the relationship. So it might not be that your partner hates you, it might just be that everything feels like shit, we feel really vulnerable, life's just got a grey cloud over it at the moment. So again, we can hash this out and work out what's going on. So one of the things I would say in early recovery is to be aware of the fact that life is going to feel grim for a little bit while your brain's rewiring. And just because life feels grim doesn't mean that it is grim. So yeah, I don't know if any of that makes sense here. Cool. Right, let's see what other people are saying. American Fighter, I'm addicted to a few things. That's normal. We're often not addicted to one thing. We're normally addicted to multiple things. American Fighter. My main thing was alcohol, but there was also like nicotine. Sorry, not alcohol, ketamine, nicotine, doom scrolling. Then I had other things coming in and out of that, like alcohol, coke, different things. But yeah, it's really normal. Like you often hear people who are addicted to like cocaine, gambling, drink, and they do all three together because we start to associate one addiction with another, or like alcohol and something else. I would say though, American, if you fight that, if you want it, so if anyone's listening, they've got what's called a comorbidity of addictions, so like a cluster of addictions, and we want to stop them, what can be helpful is to think about, okay, which one is the worst, which is having the biggest impact on my life, and then tackle that one. It might be like what Scarfy Leah's saying, is that, okay, we might have the worst thing, so the most problematic thing might be cocaine, but it might be the alcohol which is driving the cocaine. So that might be the one that we need to stop first. You know what I mean? Instead of thinking, right, oh God, I've got all these addictions that I'm going to have to go teetotal from, it might be better for you to sit there and map out which is the worst, which one do I tackle first. And you can do this with services, but also I can do a one-to-one with you. I slipped up because of my niece being naughty. It triggered me. It's done. I will have a tipple at Christmas. I don't know what day. I'm grateful. Yeah, and this is the thing, like, we're going to get knocked sideways by triggers. Like, that is unavoidable. But I suppose it's like thinking about, okay, like you said, the addiction before is pretty fucking awful. You don't even like it 2 lines into it. So moving forward, we want to stay sober, which you've managed to pick yourself up, Lee, which is like hats off to you, because that is really fucking tough when we slip up. But also thinking about, okay, what am I going to do to help us better manage triggers in the future? If something destabilizes, what am I going to work towards to help us in that? And it sounds like stress management and nervous system regulation, emotional regulation, which is no easy feat. But gratitude is definitely helpful, and I think that's probably, it sounds like you're very self-aware, and that's probably been a huge factor on why you haven't went into full relapse. Nice hairstyles, thanks. Absolutely awful, heart racing like crazy. How new into sobriety are you? Cool hand. And what is it as well? Are you doing it with services? This is a lot of questions. If you want to answer on my website, we can go into it. But I'm wondering if it's what kind of physiological impacts, because we have different things that we've got to deal with when we're coming into addiction recovery, which is why it's so intense. But there's the physical side of it. So we're removing something from our bodies. If it's drugs or alcohol, even if it's a behaviour, we're flooding our brains with dopamine, so we've got to recalibrate our brains, and that can be really intense, especially in that first 3 weeks. So early recovery, we're not just dealing with the psychological impacts and the triggers, but we're also dealing with the physical impact that it has on our brains and our bodies. Comfort and complacency is determined. What do you mean by that, Jamesy? I don't know if I'm not reading that properly. Could you expand a little bit? I'm 3 years clean, the Muffin Man, after 20 years of cocaine and cannabis addiction. Don't get me wrong, I do feel better, but I can't help the feeling of having a missing part of me, having a part of me missing. Yeah, I wonder, the Muffin Man, what it is a feeling like that. Like I've certainly experienced that because it's a loss of identity. It's like grief and loss. So if we're looking at it from a counselling perspective, when we have a huge transition in our life, it feels like a lot. It's like a grief and loss. So it's the same as if like bereavement. We go through the same process, and I think we don't recognise that as much as we should. That when we're quitting an addiction, we're going to end up grieving an old part of our life. And that's really hard. And it's the same as, you know, when people become parents and then you've got this grief and loss that isn't talked about, that, okay, before I was a parent, I had this really independent life that was full of fun and all these different things. And now all of a sudden I don't. And that's really hard for us to deal with. So I wonder if it's around processing that. So processing what you're missing. And then also thinking about, okay, is this something that was missing there that I don't have now? And how can I bring that into my life now so that I'm not feeling like I'm missing a limb? You know, get a prosthetic leg or something, so to speak. But yeah, that is really normal. What's your top tip though, Muffin Man, for anyone who's in active addiction or early recovery, which helped you? Because you're a little recovery veteran. Done it a lot longer than I have, that's for sure. Introverted banana, I'm addicted to ginger. Joking. Worst things to be addicted to. So OJ, I'm going to call you. Fentanyl was 9 days cold turkey, craziest thing I've ever experienced. Kind of cool. That is hardcore. Going cold turkey from fentanyl. Some boy or girl, very badass. How are you getting along now then, OJ? How long have you been sober from it? And what's life looking like for you? Like, have you got any top tips for anyone? Jamesy, memories come back to haunt us. Yeah, that's a huge thing in addiction recovery. And this is a huge problem with services at the moment. And it's something that I faced and tried to navigate, and it was difficult. So we have, if it's services for addiction, so even if you go to rehab centres, I've worked with people who's went to rehab, and what they'll not do is deal with trauma and the big stuff, because what happens is if we deal with all these memories that come back to haunt us, it can be super triggering, and when it's triggering, we're more likely to relapse or lean into the addiction harder, so we're more likely to increase use. So what they do is you have to be in an addiction service to help you get off the addiction, but we're not dealing with the trauma and the memories, the stuff that the addiction is helping you escape from. So that's problematic. The other side of things is like, okay, we're going to go to counselling and we're going to deal with all these stuff that haunts us. The problem with that is we're going to lean more into the addiction. So that's like dangerous. And so you don't have anything to help you with the addiction. Ideally, you can do both at the same time, but that's difficult because access to services is quite hard. What I would say is the best thing is you can, okay, we've got all these memories that haunt us, and that's really difficult. And it's not about saying we're never going to deal with it. It's like, okay, I'm going to put a pin in that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get myself stabilized enough so that I can deal with that stuff. So that looks like regulating your nervous system. So when these memories are coming up, we're just breathing, relaxing our shoulders, relaxing our jaw, and just quietly saying to us like, look, this is intense, we're going to deal with that, but just now we're going to breathe and we're going to calm down and work on managing shame, learn to give yourself grace for any mistakes you've made, giving other people grace. So that's a daily practice. But and this is the same for everybody, Jamesy, I'm going to be doing a addiction group starting in early January, which is going to help you deal with this stuff. And it's going to give you a lot of like stuff that you can do each week to strengthen this so that you can deal with those memories that haunt you, so you're less likely to relapse. Lee, AA meeting, listen to me. Oh, sorry. Anyone on alcohol or drugs do AA or NA? Yeah, groups are really great, guys. If you can do like addiction groups, like there's NA, Narcotics Anonymous, AA. There's SMART meetings if you don't believe in, like if you're not religious and you don't want to go down that route, you can do SMART meetings, which is all grounded in theory. But groups are really great because it helps you dismantle shame, because you're in a group of people who've all been where you are. And you think, well, I don't think they're a knobhead, so maybe I'm not a knobhead. And there's also people who can inspire you, and also group camaraderie, because addiction's so lonely and it's really hard to admit, but we often do need other people to help us out of addiction. Guy's on here. Hello, Guy. How you doing? Yeah, as Guy said, if you want support, comment on any of my videos, I'll contact you. Or you can go to my website, which is schoolofaddiction.co.uk. Right, let's put it together. My wife died when our child was 5, and now I'm legally blind, so now I can't see her grow up. I'm so fucking sorry to hear that, Panda Suplex. I couldn't imagine going through that, so I'm not even going to insult you by pretending to. Yeah, that's so intense. I'm really sorry to hear that. If you're wanting to have a one-to-one, I'm happy to do that. But yeah, I mean, I just couldn't imagine that, and that's huge. Like, talking about grief and loss, that's so many different levels of grief and loss. And if you came into counselling, so when I used to work in an organisation, I used to do something called like assessments. So I would assess what level of support people needed. And we used to do like a traffic light system. So I'd do your assessment, and then I'd say if you're green, amber, red. And like red would be a really complex situation. Now, grief and loss, so if somebody had a bereavement, would be classed as green, but you would automatically be red. That's classed as complex grief. And I just, yeah, it must be really tough. I wonder, are you getting any support for that, Panda? And if not, would you like us to support you with that? Right, let's see what other people are saying. C-Wag, nice to see you again. Give me a sponsor. I need a sense of superiority. Nobody will get you sober but you. Learn to fear drugs rather than turn an addiction into a lifestyle after you quit. The past is the past. Yeah, I talk about this all the time. We don't need to sit here saying once an addict, always an addict. Addiction's going to bite us in the arse. No, we need to, okay, that happened. Like, let's not pretend that we're not susceptible to addiction. Like, we're always susceptible. But that was the past, and it's about building up a new life. A life where we're recovered, we've closed that chapter. And I think part of the problem, the reason why so many people relapse before the end of the first year, it's a really sad statistic that the majority of people do. But I think one of the reasons is we sit there and we're like, okay, I was an addict, and then we hold on to this identity that now I'm an addict in recovery, when realistically we need to be thinking, no, we've closed that chapter. Now we need to focus on, okay, let's not just float through life with nothing. We need to think, okay, how am I going to rebuild? I've got to write a new book now. Or I've got to write the next chapter. And sometimes we just let life happen to us, and that's really detrimental to recovery. We need to think, okay, that life's over. What am I going to do to create a new life, a new identity, which is much better? So I agree with you, C-Wag, massively. Jamesy, if you're in a relationship during addiction, you can't be in that relationship when sober, because you will be different. Unless you were together before the addiction and your partner is sober too. I would say for the majority of people, that's right. Yeah, I would say I don't like to say never, because there will be people who've managed to do it. But if you're living with a trigger, what if they're not sober? You're living with a walking, talking trigger. And that's really difficult. Like, I just can't be around people who do ketamine now. I just can't. And I know that about myself. And it's a sad truth, because I had to lose a lot of people in my life. Second of all, you start to, when you like I say, if you're living with these blurry glasses on where you're just looking at life through the addiction lens where we're clocked out, we're barely interacting with the world, we're just off our nuts, on planet off my nut, to then start to removing those glasses, it is quite hard, because you do realise that, hang on a minute, now I'm like awake, I'm not sedated, actually I'm not in alignment with a lot of these people in my life, and it's really sad thing to go through. But again, we get to just float around with life, or we get to decide, okay, what's this next chapter in my life going to look like? Who's going to be in it? How am I going to show up? Like, how am I going to make sure that this chapter of my life is much better than the last one? And sometimes that is taking stock of who's in your life and saying, okay, maybe this relationship doesn't work for us anymore, which is sad. But I tell you what's more sad, spending the rest of your life with somebody who isn't right for you. That's sad. That sounds like a prison sentence to me. So yeah. Relapsing because your partner's still using, that's really fucking sad when you've done that work. But anyways, let's go and see what else other people are saying. Psychedelic. We are addicted to run away from a situation or feeling. In my case, it was so, yeah. It is. It's escapism. It is. And we'll have to face it at some point. I would say if we don't want to yet, or it's too intense, we can try and build up resilience so that we're mentally able to do that. But yeah, it is escapism. It's like when you're addicted, you're almost like turning your brain, the dial down from life, turning life down, turning the dial of our past down, and we're dialing up dopamine and feeling euphoric in whatever way. We're switching being paying attention to life to just a buzz, and then that buzz starts to like really impact your life. Did you go to the methadone clinic today? No, I've never been to a methadone clinic. I wasn't addicted to heroin. I've never took hard drugs. Amo, you are so beautiful, thank you. That's very kind. Captive, do you recommend using psychedelics such as mushrooms, LSD, DMT to help break bad habits? I'm going to be real on this topic, because I like to keep it real. So in the UK, we don't have access to that. People are fighting for it. Gabor Mate, Basil van der Kolk is fighting for policy to allow that. They're saying no. There's emerging research that says that it's beneficial, and there's reasons for that. So it makes your neuroplasticity in your brain malleable, which means that anything you do for I think it's up to 5 days after you take psychedelics, you get anything you do for the 5 days after, you're more likely to create neuroplasticity for. So it's a bit like a biohack, it's a quick fix. And the research does support that, although it is emerging and there's not as much as we need on it. So yeah, I do agree with it. And I think that it should be passed to be done in a therapeutic setting. I agree with Gabor Mate and Basil van der Kolk and other people in the field 100%, because the research suggests that. Do I suggest having psychedelics to do this by yourself? Because that's the position we're in, isn't it, if we're real? A lot of people don't have access to this therapy because they're not passing policy for it. So unless it's a clinical trial, we're unlikely to get it. I would say be cautious, because as somebody who's got bipolar, I've got a sensitive brain. You don't know. I know people who've been sectioned off having psychedelics, and if it's not with a therapist, it can be really dangerous. You can have a bad trip, and it can, it can really it can be dangerous. But am I going to sit here and preach about something that I've done and pretend I haven't done it in the past? No, let's be real. So yeah, that's my thoughts. Grey area. What's your thoughts on immigrants? We need immigration, I think. We do need immigration. We always think about, well, not always. There's people who think about immigration being bad. Immigration is helpful. But I also think it's very problematic, obviously. So I'm just going to sit on the fence with it. Like, stuff like this really bugs us if I think about it. Like, for instance, in the UK, working with a veteran charity, veterans should be top of the list for homes. We've got a lot of homeless veterans, and actually what I found was a lot of the veterans I worked with weren't getting access to homes because immigration was taken above. Now, do I believe that immigration, like people who are coming from a different country, weren't born here, should take priority over veterans who've served the country, who are dealing with PTSD and addiction and homelessness? No. So I think it's very skewed, like everything. So yeah, immigration can be good, but it's a one of them. Lolo put, hi, my name is Jesus. I'm from Nazareth. Please accept me in your heart and I will save your soul. I assume you're being a spokesman. If you think that you are Jesus, this might be psychosis. Phone the local services. Because as somebody who's dealt with psychosis, if you think you're a chosen one, normally you're not. Normally you're in the middle of a psychotic episode. Wow, found you again. Tried to get your help before. How do I connect with you? Go on my website, schoolofaddiction.co.uk. It's very easy to use. Anyone who's listening wants support. It's free. I don't charge. If you could give us a subscribe though, I'm trying to get paid off YouTube so I can support people for free. But anyway, schoolofaddiction.co.uk, and I will get back in touch with you. And it's all confidential on the website. It goes straight to my email address and nobody has access to that. But nice to see you again. CWAG, psychology is supposed to be modern day science, meaning they shouldn't speak in absolutes. Exactly. And even science, we can't speak in absolutes in science, realistically, because there's some things which, you know, pretty goddamn certain on, but you look at things, it's constantly changing. Like, you will have arguments for and against on everything. So like anybody who's like certain, is like, this is true, you know, we can be fairly certain, but we'll always find there's always emerging evidence. There's always going to be this camp and the other camp. So yeah, I agree. It's just really philosophy. It's just loads of humans making sense of things, doing experiments, social experiments, scientific experiments, and they're just doing experiments and trying to make sense of the world. But it's just humans with theories. None of us fucking know what's going on, let's be real. Definitely Welsh. I'm not Welsh, I'm a Geordie. Is that coffee? Yes, this is coffee. An addiction that I am quite happy to keep. Thanks very much. I've definitely put worse things in my system. I'm blasted again. What do you mean you're blasted? I love your bangs, thank you. I cut them myself. Chris, please don't drive and definitely don't cheat. Whoa, what is Chris saying? Have I missed something? Oh, you're blasted, you mean you're wrecked? Is that what you mean? I've not heard it called blasted before. That makes sense. Yeah, don't cheat, don't drive. Good advice, good sound advice. It's one of the, you know what it is? I think the fact that you're blasted watching things on addiction is good. We don't need to be stopping something. We just need to start gearing our brains up for recovery. So if we're at a point and you listen and you're like, I don't want to not do that thing, I'm not quite ready to stop, that's okay. Addiction isn't just about stopping, it's about change. So when you work with a client, we're looking for change talk, it's called ambivalence. And if you're on the fence, if you're getting blasted, learning about addiction and recovery, that's good. That means you're getting yourself geared up for it and you're firing yourself up. Like, I'm going to power myself up to stop. So that's a good thing. At least you're blasted thinking about recovery. And just keep on edging toward it, I would say. Leisha's from Newcastle, not Wales. They do confuse us. I'm Welsh. Do get called like a Geordie as well, Lee. Ashley's accent is Northern English. It's stonking. I like a Welsh accent. I'm not gonna... I'm assuming stonking's a negative thing. It might be a positive thing. Basically, there's a few places in England, in the UK, which will have ropey accents and we tend to get clubbed together. Like if you sound weird, you're probably one of these places. Psychedelic. I decorated a Christmas tree first time in my apartment. Oh, I love that. Are you feeling nice and Christmassy? How's your DIY going? And how's your time with your crush going? Psychedelic smash and recovery. And this is the thing that like I spoke about, like creating a new life. Like psychedelic is a walk and talking version of this. Smash and recovery, and he's literally just decorating his apartment. He's leaning into all different services so he can learn about himself. He's redecorating his mind. He's put himself out there dating. He's doing all these great things, and it's all about thinking, okay, yeah, I was addicted. That was one life. What am I going to do to cultivate the best possible life, and what little actions can I take every day? So psychedelic is smashing it, because they're not just, okay, I'm going to remove the addiction and continue the addicted life, which is flat and shit because you've not got the fun anymore. She's so far behind on the comments. I am, right. I'm going to scroll down. I'll start oh God, I am. I'm going to scroll around from top, bottom, and middle and try and give everyone a fair chance. Chris Cap, I would date you so hard. I've got a boyfriend. Like, he's canny solid as well. He does jiu-jitsu, choke you out. No, he wouldn't. He's chill. But no, I'm not in for dating people, thanks very much. I'm here to talk about addiction and mental health. Right, let's scroll to something else. I'm going to sell up and fuck off to the West Wales, live on the coast, stay from the idiots is my advice to good people. Yes, surround yourself with good people. That was so detrimental. Like, when I was an addict, I was around people who were addicted, and to be quite frank, like lovely people, but we were aligned, no. And now then when I left my addiction, for some people I end up losing because they didn't approve of us being an addict in recovery. So that, you can't be friends with somebody who's calling you a disgrace and stuff like that. That's not really helpful. And then some people just were still using, so I lost them. But I ended up started finding my own little tribe of people, and that was so helpful in creating this new chapter in my life. And I've moved away as well. I didn't do that originally, but I did eventually. Yo, can you be a little quiet? My wife's boyfriend is sleeping. Can you just turn the sound down? Is that just me being stupid, or like instead of me being quiet, can you not just use your little device and turn the sound down? Put subtitles on. Once I did mushrooms, then I cut countertop granite and lost like 5k. Yeah, let's be real. It's not just losing your mind. We might lose some of that stuff. We need to be sensible with psychedelics, guys. Right. Tomu, can you please tell us about your certificate behind you? You can take a screenshot, but basically I put them up there because I got into a huge debate. But basically I've got 2 degrees. One's a foundation degree in counselling. One is a BA honours in sociology and counselling. And then I've also got a master's in addiction. And I was doing my PhD. I did the first 2 years of it in psychology and addiction. And then I ended up leaving because I became a single parent. So yeah, that's my qualifications in a nutshell. But feel free to screenshot, you can zoom in if you want. Bowie, I feel like the whole support group / addiction recovery is a sham. However, I'm also discreet and prefer not to share my biz with everyone. Yeah, so I was the same as you. I was super scared. I did go to it during COVID. I went to, so the good thing about NA and AA groups, and I haven't done the 12 steps. One good thing about them is that you can do them online, which means they're accessible. And also by doing it online, you can create your own name. So it can be like AB, WD40 or whatever you want, like your YouTube handles. And then you can like get it so that you don't have your face on a screen and you don't have to speak. So if the barrier is that you don't like talking to people, you can just turn up. So the positive of groups, and there is a lot of research on this, is it's group camaraderie. So we're more likely to get through something if we've got other people cheering us on to do it, other people supporting us. Also, there's a lot of research outside of it, outside of addiction, but just talks about groups. And if we're around people who are negative, we're more likely to be negative. There's a research study called the Bad Apple study, like feel free to look it up. But it's so important the company we keep. So we're more likely, if we're around like-minded people, we're going to be the same. So if you're around ambitious people, you're probably going to be ambitious. If you're around negative Nellies, you're going to be negative. If you're around gossipers, you're going to gossip. We tend to take on. And there's studies even show this about weight. So if you're around a group of people who tend to be overweight, you're more likely to be overweight because you tend to adopt the same habits as your group. If you're somebody in a group which goes to the gym, you're more likely to go to the gym. So we don't need to get rid of our friends. We can be the change we want to see. Like if you start doing stuff, then your friends might start saying, oh, that looks good. Like we don't have to preach, but like model behaviour. But if going back to addiction groups, if we apply that research and findings to this, is if you are around people who are in active addiction, aka the people we get wrecked with, then we're more likely to stay in addiction. If you were spending your time with groups of people who are in recovery and who were saying, I can do this is great, like this is the way, then you're more likely by nature, because it's an evolutionary thing. We need to be in tribe mentality. We need a tribe to survive. In the modern day world, we get to pick our tribes. If you're picking a tribe who are in recovery, then that's going to be really helpful. So yeah, that's what I would say to that. But you don't need to go to, if it's AA and NA, if it's the faith-based thing that's putting you off, then you can do SMART meetings. Or you could come along to my group. I'm starting a group up in January. It's free. I did do 70 LSD tabs 70 years ago, and I was seeing things, and all I could hear was a woman's orgasm noises, and it got me sectioned. That was the last time I've ever done that. I mean, 70 tabs. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised you were in sectioned. I've been sectioned before, so I thought I was the queen of fucking everything. I thought I was the queen of everything. And they were actually trying to organise a bed for us in a mental hospital. And I thought they were trying to organise a better bed because obviously the queen of everything needs better than a single bed. The only thing that was true in my psychotic episode, which I really wish wasn't, was the fact that there was a nurse there who was in my class at school. And the next day, I was like, oh my God, because I needed a sleeping tablet. I woke up and I was like, well, that was fucking crazy, wasn't it? And my mum and stepdad was like, yeah, that was definitely fucking crazy. And then the girl who was in my class came back in and served us a drink. And I thought, the one thing that I wish was part of the psychosis wasn't. Got to laugh. Right. It's Lee saying, hang around with a negative, you'll become a negative. Hang around with a positive and you'll get charged up positively. Yeah, honestly, it's scientifically proven. And look, you can start to become the positive and it will rub off onto people. But it's easier if you're around 10 people who are already positive and you've got to match their level. That's a bit easier than one person being positive around 10 people who are negative. It's very easy to sustain this. And this is what we spoke about with addiction recovery. Like if you're in a relationship, when you come out of it, your perspective's going to change. And sometimes we've got to make the decision of like, okay, I'm not going to go down with that shape. Like you can come up, I'm going up. If you want to come up to positivity land with us, come up. But like I ain't going down with you. And this is the problem. It's very hard to be one person doing something. So and maintain that and not slip back into bad habits. I'll be negative. Everybody being positive made everyone soft and stupid. look, we don't need being positive. We hear about toxic positivity. We don't need to be toxic. We don't need to be positive, like blindly positive. We don't need to walk around going, woo, everything's great and dandy. Like, that's not helpful. That's just like stupid, really. Walking around saying everything's great if you're in a negative relationship, like maybe you're in an abusive relationship and you hate your job and like just life's terrible and you're in addiction. Like, we can sit there and, pretend to be an ostrich and bury our life in this crazy in positivity and go, yeah, everything's great, I'm fine. Like, that's not going to be helpful. We need to be realistic, but we can be positive in that realism and say, okay, actually, I'm a pretty great person and I deserve better than this. And actually, there is a lot of people who've been where I am and they've managed to get themselves out and they've managed to cultivate a better life. That's being positive, but realistic. I think like that's important. So I guess that's what you're saying. Whatever your name is. I'm starting to get tired. Dustbuster, I was up for 3 weeks straight when I started seeing a dark silhouette that floating around me, and then after that, every time I get high, I would see it watching us. Yeah, our brains can start to associate certain things. I've got a really weird association where every time I have a bipolar episode, I think I'm gay. And every time I have to explore it because I'm like, I can't sit there and like pretend I'm not gay if I am. And every time I explore it, I come to the same conclusion that I'm not. So our brains associate things and then it becomes a pattern. It's like a neural pathway. So then every time we do something, that association. So for you, it sounds like when you start seeing a dark silhouette that your brain starts to associate it. Associative thinking. Neither of our associative thinking there is helpful. Right, Lactone. I wave at life from afar like internet. People out there are interesting. Yeah, I like that. I like to sit and muse. This is going back to the original topic, just being in awe. Like, I just like sit in amusement at life all the time. Like, I'm just watching it from afar. And like, this is the thing, we get to choose what we engage with in life. So if we look at like what we're going to consume, so there's a lot of shit going on in the world and we can choose whether we're going to sit there and look at it and engage in it and sit there and experience fear, fear about something we have no control over going on the other side of the world. Or we get to decide, okay, I could just let that be afar and I can sit here and observe it, but I'm not going to engage in it. Or maybe I don't observe it, which I don't follow the news. Pushing something as far as we are comfortable with. Yeah, that is a good way to describe it. Just, yeah, think like I'm not going to allow that in my that can be my periphery. I'm not going to have it, and that can be people. It can be, like we say, different things that's going on in the world. Like if it's not bringing us peace and it's bringing us fear and anxiety, that's not going to help anyone. It's not going to help the people who are going through it. Like, watching these adverts and stuff like that where they're just eliciting loads of emotion, I'm like, I'm not going to sit there and sign up to 20 charities as a single parent on universal credit. That's not going to happen. So for me, watching it isn't going to help them and it's not going to be helpful to me. But nose ring theory is real. It's kind of annoying. What is the nose ring theory? I got my nose pierced when I was psychotic. It was actually, I quite like it though. It was because I used to hate my nose. So it was like a little... I thought I'm going to draw attention to my nose because I used to hate it so much. And I thought like it was just like a symbolism for being on my healing journey. Like, do you know what it is? Look at my nose. I don't care. Like, I'm just going to love myself unconditionally. So it's like a little thing for myself. Maybe that fits in with the theory, I don't know. Right, let's go. I'm going to scroll around in the middle and see what people are saying, try and give everyone a fair chance. 100%. I heard early on to surround myself with millionaires when I was super money driven. It worked. Yeah, it is so true. There's research out there which shows that. And it's just, if you want to be ambitious, surround yourself with people who are ambitious. If you think, oh, I want to like do something great with my life, and you're sat there with like people who aren't that bothered about that. They're more bothered about families and settling down and working a 9 to 5 and being comfortable. It's going to be really difficult because you're not going to, you're not going to be inspired. It's like herd mentality, isn't it? Pick your herd, guys. Oh, lightning showers. I think you have a cute nose. Thank you. It's like kind of, look, I don't mind now. I've really got to a point, but I've got like a dint off sniffing so much. I spent all of my 20s and early 30s shoving things up my nose on the daily. So, and it's quite big, but do you know what it was? It was somebody said something to us when I was dating them when I was younger. They said like, how did you break your nose? And it really affected us for years. And like now I don't care. I just like love myself unconsciously. You can just train yourself to, like, I know, so if we sit there and we don't like something about ourselves, if we constantly focus on it and tell ourselves we don't like it, we're not going to like it. But if we reframe that, then we can train our brains to think differently. Our brains are just like dogs. We can train them. It's just a lot of the time we don't. We just accept our thoughts to be true. Right, let's see what else. So just going to scroll around to the middle. So Lee's saying, these online classes help. How many people agree? Ashley deserves a big thank you for anyone who uses this platform she provides. Thank you. Yeah, they do work, online stuff, and I know they might not work for everyone. Let's be real, but like not everything works for everyone. And that's why there's so much different variety and different things that we can do for any type of mental health, because it's not one shoe fits all and we're all different. So it's about finding out what works for you. But I do think that some kind of external motivation can help internal motivation. So that might be, you can access that in a number of different ways. It might even just be using the I Am Sober app. Me and one of the lads who come on my channel have been discussing creating an app, an addiction app, which should be quite helpful. So yeah, there's lots of different ways. Right, I'm really tired, guys, and I struggle when I get tired to, like, my brain just gets a bit fluffy. I don't want to start giving you loads of bullshit. So I'm going to answer 2 more questions. I didn't get a good night's sleep last night, which does affect us. Right, Bowie's saying, so this is on the opposite side, I feel like the whole support group / addiction recovery is a sham. However, I'm also discreet. Oh no, I've said that one already. Sorry. Right, we'll do another 2. Right. Oh God, I'm just reading the same things. If I got money, I make my home better, but now I have to wait. No money left. And my crush cancelled the date, but I met someone who overcame what I got problems with. I got fear to be hurt again. It's really hard dating again, especially when you're sober, because you're taking away the thing that you're confident with. I would say though, psychedelic, I mean, honestly, so when I got sober, I also became a single mom not that long after, and I was single. I mean, I've had a few flings, but properly single for 3.5 years, and I dated probably about 50 people at that time. So I just started like thinking, okay, I'm just going to go on a date and I'm going to learn stuff about me and learn stuff about them. And it is that fear of not being hurt again, but it is just a fear. And anytime we face our fears, it gets easier. So I just got started thinking, right, I'm going to learn about what do I want, what do I not want. I'm going to learn about myself. I'm going to have a bit of fun. I'm going to just connect with people. Yeah, and I just tried to just a big fun learning curve for quite a few years, and I thought, I'm just not settling. Like, again, talking about creating that new chapter in our life where we think, right, we get to decide, like, okay, what do I want my life to look like? And if we're consciously doing that, so for me, I was like, I want a relationship, like, for me, that's important, but I don't want to just have any old riffraff in my life. I don't want to settle for something that's not somebody who's not aligned with us. So I'm just gonna play the field, as my grandpa said. Play the field a bit, put myself out there. So yeah, And also about money, you know, like you say, it sounds like you're just doing little spurts of things. So yeah, I just say, I know you're scared of getting hurt, but the more you put yourself out there, the more you realise, actually, I'm more scared of being in a fucking shit relationship. Because that was the thing, I was in a relationship that wasn't right for us. And I knew it wasn't. Like, we just brought out the worst in each other. And I was so scared of being alone that I didn't end it. He didn't end it. And then I ended up having a child, and now I'm a single mum. That's a hell of a lot more scary than being single. A lot more scary than being in a do you know what I mean? Staying in a relationship can be much worse than just putting yourself out there. Boylan, you don't get to choose love. You get to choose standards, I think. There was a lot of people that I dated that I thought, like, oh my God, this person's really aligned with us. The last person I dated before the person I'm with now, like, we got on something chronic, but we weren't aligned. And you get to decide, like, am I gonna be with somebody who isn't right for us just because there's potential to fall in love with them because of chemicals, or you get to think, like, no, I'm not gonna, I've made that mistake and it didn't work out. Like, realistically, the chemical love wears off, because in the beginning it's just like a cocktail of neurochemicals. Are you still single? No, I'm not. I found someone. After my 3.5 years of cutting through stuff, I found someone. It was worth the wait. Why does meth make people's sex crazy, and then some people don't want no part of sex? I don't know. Because coke does that, doesn't it? And weed. I don't know. It's probably, I don't want to answer something that I don't know, but an educated guess, it's probably because you're dialing up chemicals in your brain, which are also linked in with sex. But I think it's also about, like, where you put your focus, isn't it? Because I think, you know, yeah, I don't know the answer to that. It's definitely something to do with neurochemicals, I'd imagine. I'm glad you found someone. You're really beautiful. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's so cute. Love can be forever, and if you find it, hold on to it. Sex is fleeting and momentary. Yeah, it can be. And I think it's about recognize. One thing I've done in dating, when you, because if you date with intention and conscious dating, it can be a bit of a slog, don't get us wrong, because you're not just settling for the first scrag end thrown your way. But if you're aware of the neuroscience of it, so if you're aware that, okay, there's certain things you're going to be attracted to, which smell for women. So for women, we're going to be attracted to somebody who has a certain smell, and that's because that means you're genetically compatible. So actually, if you're attracted to someone and you're a woman, you're probably just thinking, like, they would make healthy babies. For a man, you're going to be more attracted to, and this is about heterosexual relationships, but you're going to be more attracted to somebody who looks more fertile, so healthy long hair, certain hip to waist ratio, etc. So realistically, that's the first instance. The second instance, the thing that we're going to be attracted to, is the fact that we get dopamine, and it was flooded with dopamine and oxytocin, and for men vasopressin, and like women have vasopressin as well and men have oxytocin as well, but it's opposite way around. So we're actually attracted to the neurochemicals we release. So if we're aware of, actually, this is just evolution that I'm attracted to. I'm attracted to procreating because that's what I'm here to do. If you remove that, you can say, okay, now is the time, because I'm going to be flooded with love hormones, which stop us from thinking straight. If we can actually turn our prefrontal cortex on and start rationally thinking about this person, like, what are my values? What are theirs? Are we aligned? Is this logistically going to work? You'll be a lot more successful in dating. The only problem is you're going to narrow the pool massively, so it might take longer, but you'll have better results. Nah, it's no smell, it's money women look for. They want their nest feathered. Well, so it's smell first. So that's what we will decide in the first, like, millisecond if someone's compatible. Men and women do it. But money, you're right, you are right, money. So it's status. So it's not necessarily money, it's about status. So we have different needs. It's about procreation. So women need to be protected. So actually another thing that women look at is your waist to shoulder ratio. And it's about physical protection. Women need to be protected because naturally men are supposed to, look, you're the strongest side of the species, let's be real. Like, I don't like this equality. Like, we are meant to be equal, but men and women are very different as well. And I think that needs to be recognised. So money falls into status. It might not be money though. There's different things. So equally, what performs well when they've done studies on men and women isn't just like money, but also if someone's kind. So a kind person is actually more likely to get a woman, so if you had a group of women, they're more likely to perform better than somebody who's not kind. So there's different traits that women look for, and kindness can be one, and kindness is for free. So emotional intelligence, we can all work on our emotional intelligence. So yeah. Female bears don't get between her and her cubs. Oh my God, I would kill for my son. I really would. That's why I managed to get sober. It was one of the factors. Don't get us wrong, I kept relapsing. I relapsed when I was pregnant in the beginning, but the major force was like, I need to get sober for my kid. That was my hook. Because I was like, nothing's happening to my child. Even when I was mentally unwell, I'm not going to it, but yeah, I fully agree with that. I would kill a male. Like, the baby daddy would be dead if it was between them and the baby. I'd kill myself. I actually did try to do that when I was psychotic, because my dogs told us I had to take my own life. Obviously this was not real, but in my psychotic episode, my dog said I needed to take my own life to save my son, and I didn't hesitate. I just necked loads of tablets off. I overdosed straight away because I thought it was real. So yeah, don't get in the way of mama bears and their cubs. Right, let's see what else. Okay, I've got a little second wind. I'll stay on a bit longer. You're smart. Sounds like you know what you're talking about. Some things, other things, my friends say I'm the thickest, smartest person they know. Some things I don't have a clue. This is just because this is my job. Some things I'm so stupid on. But we all have our own little niches, don't we? Motherly vibes of is this the one I could trust and raise our kids to be better than us? Yeah, this is the thing. It's like, it's all evolution. So like, if you're a woman watching, so I'll talk about men, you can work on emotional intelligence if you want to be more attractive. For women, again, hetero relationships, but that's where the research is. For women, you can work on, again, emotional intelligence, because then we can be more nurturing and we can be more kind and more feminine. And the thing is, often we try and, for some reason, a lot of social media tries to create this narrative that we're not men and women. Like, men don't need to be masculine and toxic masculinity, and women need to be more like men. And it's like, no, we're not. We're very different. And we can also lead into strengths, especially if you're wanting a date. Like, if anyone's struggling in dating and you're like, I want to find someone, the best thing you can do is learn about neuroscience and biology of your sex and the opposite sex. It'll be a game changer, guys. Me Julie is home. Me Julie. That's a blast from the past. Me Julie is homely. But she knows I can't stop laughing at that. Right, get in the garage. Me Julie is homely, but she knows how to set traps to catch the squirrel for good eating. Women can be known to set traps. I mean, it's much easier for just upfront. That's how I try and roll. Both sexes just want recognition for what they provide or can. However, there is a lot that take the other for granted. Yeah, so true. And I do think that this is the difference. Again, if you want to be successful, even if you're in an existing relationship, learn about neuroscience and biology of men and women. And we're not taught about it, but it's a game changer, because We don't understand each other. Men and women are so different. We're wired up different. We're socially primed different. Like how men experience the world is so different to women. We're biologically different. So we do want to be understood. And the best way to be understood is to try and understand your partner and for them to understand you. Because we're looking at each other through, like, what a lot of problems is, women are looking at men thinking, well, why are they not like me? Why are they not thinking like that? And it's because they're not wired up the same. So if we can understand how we're different and learn, there's a great book, right? It's called Women Are From Venus, Men Are From Mars. And what it talks about is this concept of men live on Mars, and basically in Mars, where men are, they have a problem and they sulk off to the man cave and they sit in the man cave and they solve the problem, they fix it. And then when they're finished, they come out and the problem's done and they integrate. In Venus, where all the women live, women all sit down and they talk about the problems and they hash it out. And then what happens is the women move to Mars, or the other way around, and women and men get together and they really struggle because all of these things with women doesn't work with men. So if we learn that, okay, I'm from Venus, I speak whatever language that is, and we've got men from Mars, they speak Marsanian, I don't know. Like learn to speak the other person's language, it'll be much easier. Yeah, protectors, protections. What are you saying, projections or protections? I don't know what you mean by that. No disrespect, but you have gorgeous eyes, Queen. Thank you, appreciate that. No disrespect taken. Do you offer private one-to-one advice on Zoom? If so, how much do you charge for a counselling session? So I used to do private counselling. I've worked for organisations. I'm not doing that anymore. But I do recognise that people on my channel probably need a bit more support than what I can offer just answering questions. So I do offer a one-to-one free for people in dire straits. So if anyone's wanting some support, it's a one-off session. It's not classed as counselling, but like I am a qualified counsellor. I will do one-to-ones, and just go to my website, schoolofaddiction.co.uk, and send us a message. And it's fully confidential. But anyways, I'm going to go because I'm really tired. I'll answer one more question. I just don't want to be answering on a half-hearted brain. Wait there. What else? Let's see. We'll go on something different than the accent. I'll go to the bottom, guys. Hi, Mona, Bishop. Nice to see you. Men need to be fathers, women need to be mothers, but there is a difference. Any boy can have a kid, any female. It takes a real man to be a father. Yeah, I mean, from an evolutionary standpoint, we do need that. Like, that is what we're here for. And I think sometimes we deny the fact that, like, oh, I don't need a man. Well, arguably, from an evolutionary standpoint, that is the way we're wired up. But I think what you're saying if we're not wanting to be in a relationship, this is also choice, it's not just evolution. To apply that more broadly about being a man, we have to go through initiation. Like, men need to go through initiation processes. And I think this is one of the struggles that men are dealing with at the moment. Like, men need camaraderie. There's certain needs that men have which aren't being fulfilled. And it's about, and there is part of that is initiation in manhood. But there's a lot of factors which aren't helping men get to that point. So yeah, it's really interesting to learn about it, guys. But I'm so tired, and yeah, anyone can be a father, but it takes someone special to be a dad. I love that. Yeah, it's true. It's a sad truth. It really is. And I'm just thinking about myself. Like, I don't think I would have been a great mum looking back. I think I would have been a horrendous mum if I'd had a child any earlier. I do think, like, age can make a difference. But yeah, but then there's some great mums and dads who are young, who are fantastic. Anyways, I'm going to go. I'm so tired, and I'm just laughing at Jason, saying that Jason needs to go. There's only one room for one. My stepdad's called Jason. If I'm going to have a Jason, it's going to be him. that's the thing, he's a dad. He's like took us on as his own, and he's amazing. He's just so brilliant. And he's not even a biological dad to his, so yeah. Anyways, peace and love, guys, and I'll be back on tonight at 9 p.m. GMT time. I go live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 a.m. and 9 p.m. GMT time. If I've missed anyone's comments, or if anyone's watching and they want some support for free, go on my website, schoolofaddiction.co.uk. And if anyone could give us a subscribe, that is so fucking helpful to my channel. But if not, just thanks for everyone who turned up, and I'll see you tonight. Bye.